Of Kern County's energy sector, the first thing that comes to mind is usually oil, but the renewable energy industry here has a very big presence in our community. So joining us live tonight is the CEO from Crimson Renewable Energy, Harry Simpson. All right, so Crimson Renewable Energy is actually the largest producer of ultra-low carbon biodiesel in the state of California. And essentially what they do is they take waste materials such as cooking oil and they actually turn that into biodiesel. Welcome back and thank you for joining us. Let's check in with Harry once again now that we have him up. You gotta love Zoom, all these technical difficulties. Harry, as I was mentioning, you are the CEO of Crimson Renewable Energy, the largest producer in California of biodiesel. Can you talk a little bit about what your company does for people that don't know what you guys do?
Sure. So we make a fuel that is basically a substitute for diesel fuel. It's typically blended with diesel. In California, if you pull up to just about any truck stop, typically you'll get a blend that is 80% petroleum diesel and 20% biodiesel. And if that happens to be in the Fresno to Bakersfield Grapevine corridor along I-95 or I-9 or I-5, it's probably our biodiesel produced in Bakersfield.
And why did you decide to put your plant here in Bakersfield, and what progression have you guys made over the years?
Sure. Well, first we chose California because of the low carbon fuel standard program that Governor Schwarzenegger implemented back in 2007. That was really pivotal for us in terms of, where we wanted to build a plant in the United States. And then when you look at diesel consumption in California, Bakersfield's a really central location. About 60% of all the diesel consumed in California is consumed within 100 or so miles of our plant. And then the other reason is we found a site where we built the plant that had great rail infrastructure. It had a lot of rail spots. And also Bakersfield is a great rail town in the sense that it's served by both the Union Pacific and the BNSF Railroad. So those were important factors when you want to build a large-scale facility that needs the flexibility to bring in raw materials via rail. And then as far as, what we've gone through, it's been a long evolutionary, almost continuous process. In 2012, our first full year of production, we produced a little over 3 million gallons. And by 2018, we were producing 23 million gallons a year and have been doing that ever since. And so we've been continuously improving the plant and expanding it. And we just completed construction of another expansion, which is basically a brand new plant built alongside the original plant, which will add another 12 million gallons a year capacity. And it features a new third generation technology that allows us to use raw materials that we can't use today in the current plant. The current plant runs mostly on used cooking oil that comes from up and down California, a good chunk of which we collect ourselves via our subsidiary, Sequential Environmental Services. And it also runs on animal fats and some other fats and oils. So the new plant will run on some other types of fats and oils that we can't run today.
And what do you see for the future of your business? Do you see it staying in Kern County for the next 20, 30, 40 years? What's your projection here?
Well, I'm smiling just because you can't really pick up and move one of these plants.
That's true.
Look, I'm very confident in the future of renewable fuels in California. The program that Governor Schwarzenegger put in place in 2007, it didn't actually get started until 2010. That's created a trajectory and a growth path for the industry that, takes us out to 2035. The program requires increasing amounts of carbon reduction, and you can only get there by doing things like blending more advanced biofuels, very low carbon biofuels like ours. If we look at alternative diesel fuels today, it's probably in total approaching 20% of the total diesel market, but last year it generated almost 45% of all the carbon reductions in the program. So it really punches above its weight, but it also drives, the market for electric vehicles. The carbon credits that are generated by the utilities based on electric vehicles are going to become increasingly important. So, I don't think we're going anywhere, and this market's only going to keep growing.
And so final question here, and I think you already answered this a little bit. Are you optimistic about the future of renewable energy, specifically here in Kern County? What do you see for the future of it?
I'm very optimistic. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize what a renewable energy powerhouse Kern County is. You have the largest utility scale solar installations in the state in Kern County, the largest wind farms, the largest biodiesel plant. It's really a center of all types of renewable energy. And it's not an either or proposition in terms of the oil and gas industry, which has been, a huge traditional anchor I think, for the local economy. And oil and gas, I don't think is going anywhere in the next decade or two or three. This transition that we're going to make as a society to cleaner, renewable forms of electricity and moving away from burning fossil fuels, that's a transition that's going to take a long time. I'm not necessarily thinking centuries, hundreds of years, but it's going to take a while. It's not around the corner in the next decade or two. So oil is going to be there, renewable energy is going to be there, and renewable is going to keep growing. I think that's where the world wants to go.
All right. Thank you, Harry. Linda, of course, I want to get to you as well. Now, you've been in the wind and solar sector for nearly 30 years, and you have a number of clients who maintain and operate wind and solar projects. So can you talk a little bit about the progression of the wind and solar sector and what it's looked like in Kern County throughout the years?
Well, Alex, first of all, thank you very much for having me on today. The Kern County has been blessed with an abundance of natural resources. It has a tremendous wind and solar resource, which I've been proudly involved with for over 30 years. The renewable energy industry began in the early 1980s with the wind industry. And today, Kern County is referred to as the wind energy capital of the West and a leader in renewable energy. With 15,860 megawatts of renewable energy online and being permitted, that puts Kern County well beyond any other county in the state of California. We also have 3,000 megawatts of battery storage that is coming down the pipeline. And it has to be noted that under current California state policy, the fact is that more solar and wind are required by the state laws. And for the next 20 years, we expect to see 70,000 megawatts of solar, 55,000 megawatts of storage, and 23,000 megawatts of wind needed by 2045 to meet the state's policy goals.
And Linda, I want to ask you, as far as wind and solar, where do you see it taking a place like Kern County? Because I think a question that a lot of people have is wind and solar as profitable and as reliable as oil?
Well, industries aren't in locations if they aren't viable. And certainly Kern County has the resource for us to be here. There's also state policies that bring us here. And I do believe that in the future, and the policies that Kern County sets, we are here to stay. And we will provide economic benefits for years to come with numerous solar and wind projects.
And talking about environmental impacts, how is it helpful to have more renewable energy in a place like Kern County environmentally?
Well, our fuel source is free. It's either from the sun or it's the wind. Certainly during the permitting process, we have to go through a multitude of environmental surveys and studies. It's just a clean, renewable energy source. And renewables aren't here to fight with the oil industry. We have two different things that we are doing, and we're vastly different in our purpose. And I think that people are trying to polarize everything right now, and our responsibility and opportunity is to find ways to forge alliances and alignment wherever we can.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry, Linda. I just want to make sure we get to our final guest here. But thank you so much for your time. We truly, truly appreciate it.